Hey, this is Brian from CanTech TV. I'm with Rob from Information Ventures. Rob, how are you doing today?
I'm excellent, thank you.
Great to meet you. Rob, we're sitting outside Mars Center here in Toronto. Can you tell us about the event that's going on today, what you're looking to get out of it, and the reason why you're hosting the event?
Yeah. Today is the Meet the Investors and Influencers event that we've decided to put together because as VCs and as folks involved with the Upside Foundation, what we have found is that the entrepreneurs are always asking us a very common question. How do I meet VCs? And so what we've just tried to do is put together in one setting, in one room, Canada's leading VCs, and there are 40 featured VCs here, as well as any entrepreneur who wants to see them, meet with them, talk to them, all for free.
Sure.
And that's the event.
Gotcha. Now, an important highlight that you just mentioned is that this is more so a Canadian-specific event. So we're going to see Canadian entrepreneurs come out, a lot of Canadian VCs come out as well. What's your take on kind of the Canadian business startup environment, maybe compared to 5 years ago, where we are today, and where you think the trends are going to move 5 years from now?
Great. Well, it certainly is a different market than it was 5 years ago. It's much more vibrant. It's much more, it's deeper. There is startup activity from coast to coast, from Victoria all the way to St. John's. I think that's it's much different than it was 5 years ago, and even more different than 10 years ago. So this has been an acceleration in the last decade of Canadian technology startups and Canadian technology success stories, and I think we should expect to continue to see that over the next 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely seeing a lot of momentum moving forward. Now, you yourself have been a VC since the late 90s, and you're continuing that kind of VC route right now here in the Canadian market. So you've seen primarily a lot of the technological side from the funding standpoint.
That's right.
What is your opinion moving in the technology scene coming from your guys' fund? What's your guys' strategy? What are you guys looking for?
Yeah. Information Venture Partners is a Toronto-based North American venture fund looking at investing in early-stage companies in two sectors. Generally speaking, enterprise software, which could be analytics, could be the application, it could be the social enterprise, and the second one is fintech, which is really technologies focused on selling into financial institutions and financial services companies, whether they're banks, insurers, asset managers, hedge funds, payments companies, whatever it might be.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing a lot of investment go into the fintech industry, offshooting into mobile payments, into really the financial side. Really, technology has really infiltrated finance, and now we're really exploring the potential services and offerings from there. Final question for you.
Well, I'm going to tell you, we've only scratched the surface of the technology that we can do in financial services.
So knowing that, then, what do you see moving forward in the next 10, 20 years? Is there going to be a shift, a big shift in customer mentality in terms of how we're taking payments, how currency works?
I certainly think this generation of consumers will want the financial services delivered to them differently. And I think the banks also need to adapt because their back office systems are quite old and need to be updated and need to remain current so that they can offer the product that the consumer wants.
Yeah, so we're really seeing a movement in type of more so a freer liberal mentality. I mean, even with the elections that happened here in Canada, we're seeing a lot more new users want everything done for them, everything done delivered right to their front door. They don't want to really move a lot, and I think the fintech space is really starting to realize that the power now is shifting more to the users and less to them. Your insights and thoughts on that?
Well, I think what's happening is this next generation of consumers doesn't have the experience that the previous generation had with banks. And so they're not familiar with how banks work, and the trust that they have is not necessarily today in the banks because they don't use them, but in Facebook and Google and some of the other apps that they're using. So there is a different mindset. The consumerization of banking is coming, and that's what we're seeing.
Perfect. That's very exciting. One last question I'm going to leave you off with. Scenario-based questions. You're not a VC right now, but you know what a venture capitalist knows. Now, if your investment strategy is not based on a risk-return rate of adjustment, what would you be investing in?
It's a great question. If I'm not a VC and I could pick any sector, as a normal, everyday person, I would probably pick esports.
Esports? Why esports?
Esports is a burgeoning market, and I think it's changing the way people use technology. It's now competitive. There's prize money. There's millions of fans worldwide. It's really a revolution that is beginning, and it's going to grow much bigger.
Great fact, actually. I found out recently that other than the Super Bowl, esports, so your League of Legends, your Dotas, those actually attract out more of an audience for their tournaments than any other sport besides the Super Bowl.
It's probably true. I'm too old to be an esports guy.
And I'm just young enough to understand. This is Rob from Information Ventures. Been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks, Brian.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.